Now that's the message we want to send to the rest of the motorsport community. Why Formula E is amazing as it is, because that race was absolutely chaos. We had crashes, yellow flags, airborne incidents, a red flag, a ton of attack mode, and just the best overtakes we could have for our sport. It was absolutely brilliant. And this series, of course, is unscripted, where I write down the chaos, which I've got almost 2 to 3 pages of, to just celebrate that race, just the carnage that ensued. It's only just finished about 45 minutes ago with the trophies being handed out, and this is, yeah, my depiction and my comments of that race. So welcome to Formula E Unscripted. So what a brilliant weekend, and it started off a bit shaky. We didn't have an FP1 practice. It was cancelled due to what I think was a communications glitch. They didn't really tell you too much, but they did let us know that it was cancelled after an hour of delays, which was a bit sad when you've just come out of testing and you want to watch the cars on track. So we had to sleep on it, get up nice and, well, I say early, it was 10 o'clock, but get up at 10 and watch them go around for FP2, which was extended. And then we went straight into qualifying and then into the duels about an hour and a half later. And to be honest, it was really good. And we had some shock results in the duel section. Obviously today I'm going to mainly talk about the race, but obviously we had Pascal Wehrlein, who got pole position, but had a 3-place grid penalty for doing a burnout or a wheel spin on the pit exit, I believe, which dropped them down to 4th. And that will come back later on. But yeah, this race was insane. The podium, and I'm going to go straight to the result because it just helps fill in all the other gaps that how we kind of got to that result, with Jake Dennis in first, Oliver Rowland in second, and Nick Cassidy in third. And I did say Nick Cassidy's one to watch out for, and he was certainly not in my top 6. I really thought that Citroen car was going to let us down. But yes, what an amazing result. Obviously, Jake Dennis, I think, has been immaculate through the whole of the weekend, and you fully deserve that result. It was brilliant. So, how did we get here then? Well, obviously, we had Wehrlein pole, but then he took that grid penalty, which put him 4th on the grid. Obviously, still well earned. That was very fast in qualifying. One thing I did like was Wehrlein looked really strong in this race. He was almost in first place after the first 2 laps. He was fighting with the Costa, and after knowing their drama, I thought, oh no, they're not in the same team now. They can really fight each other. But it was very respectful between them pair. A bit of a nail-biter at the very beginning because they were fighting for first position. And obviously in Formula E, we have changes of positions all the time, and to see them two battling out for first place before anyone took attack mode was quite incredible. So, but Wehrlein did pretty well this race. He didn't get in the podium. He was very close to, and I think had the drama that we're going to talk about later on had not happened, then we might have seen him probably on the podium. Mahindra. Now, the reason why I'm bringing them up now is because everyone was talking about them. They looked super strong. Even in the qualifying and duels, Mortara did extremely well. I thought he could have got actually higher had he just had a better lap. I think it was in the semi-final. Yes, he lost to Jake Dennis, which is a real shame, but obviously, he was very fast this week, so we're not going to knock it. But Mortara, yeah, I thought they had a really good pace, and they were the most talked about in terms of improvement over pre-season testing. But where did it all go wrong? At the very first corner, De Vries had to take evasive manoeuvres, pushing Mortara off the track and also damaging Dan Ticktum, which was kind of the first dominoes in Cooper Kiro's downfall of today's race, which is a real shame. Dan, you did extremely well, but obviously the domino effect had started. Cooper Kiro, what a race they had. To put it into Dan's words, which I actually wrote down, great day for us, but was it a great day for them? Certainly not. Obviously, Dan Ticktum got damage on the straight from, obviously, De Vries hitting his rear tyre. He then came into pit, which isn't really something we do fast in Formula E. We're not tyre changers, so it doesn't really help. But when he did change his tyre, he got a bit of wheel spin, which then gave him a time penalty because of this new regulation that they can't spin their tyres, which I think is a little bit harsh because obviously they've put it in because it's against the rules, but obviously EVs don't have a lot of traction because they're just so torquey. So spinning the wheels up is actually very easy, especially if the surface isn't very grippy. So I feel for both Verline and Dan Ticktum in that. And then his race just kept going backwards. He then got a penalty, then he had to come back in again. It was just, yeah, a bit bad for Dan Ticktum. Which then he retired the car, and I think he might still have a penalty. I can't remember. I didn't write that down, but I think there were still talks potentially of that. But of course, Cooper Kiro isn't just made up of Dan Ticktum. They have the fabulous Pepe Mate, which is their new rookie driver, who I thought had quite an impressive race. Until he decided, well actually I don't know whose fault this was, but he was our airborne of the week, if we could even give him an award. Luckily he was okay. He crashed into the back of Da Costa that kind of flipped him over. And fantastic work from whoever designs the Formula E car and the FIA, because that was a really big crash, and he just got out and walked, which just shows the amazing work of the car essentially. So real shame, because I did think he actually tried really hard. I thought he could have scored some points this weekend. The car looked good, he looked good, and yeah, as a rookie performance it was really good. So we were going to give you driver of the day until that happened, so it's a real shame. I think, it's just one of them, but at least he walked out okay. And that's when, of course, the line, "Great day for us," came from the wonderful Dan Ticktum, live on the TV as well. It was just fantastic. So after that sort of point, and I know I've kind of jumped around how the race worked, but there was 14, basically after that red flag from Pepe Mate, there was 14 racers left in the race after a couple of shunts here and there. Nissan had a good race. I think they turned what was quite a bad start for Oliver Rowland. I had him as my depleted driver, and he really showed that he is still world champion material. Obviously, he came second place. Had all that other stuff happened, maybe or maybe not, we don't know. But I think he did transition. I think he was like 10th when he started the race, because he had the 3 grid penalty. He didn't get through to the dual stages. So to turn that round with a second place, I was very impressed with. Obviously, Nato was good, very good actually, until they kind of started fighting each other. They almost took each other out at one point, both Nissans, and then obviously the race then changed a little bit. Not the race for Jaguar, and sadly I had prepared my Jaguar themed t-shirt to wear because I really did think it was going to be a good weekend for them. Obviously Evans was sort of taken out by Buemi. It kind of looked like a 50-50, more like no space incident, which is a real shame, because he always finishes well here. Evans, he always finishes quite well in Brazil. And obviously Da Costa, it's a real shame. I'm glad they didn't red flag and cut the race, because I want those sort of one-lap showdowns, because I think as a motorsport, it just is annoying, because I don't know how much to fault Da Costa was in the Pepe Mate incident, because they were slowing down for a yellow flag. Is it an inexperience of a rookie? Is it that there just wasn't anywhere to go? Not going to think too much on that, because it is just a crash, and luckily no one was hurt. But obviously then Da Costa dropped down, there's no attack mode, and it just drops him out of the points when I think he actually had a decent race for, remember, moving into the team for the first time. So yeah, real sad about Jaguar, but there are plenty more races and plenty more points to score. Lola Yamaha looked awful at the start of this weekend. Obviously in qualifying and the duels, they weren't even part of it really. They dropped out of both the group stages. At A and B, they were last for a powertrain issue, and they kind of were nowhere at the beginning of the race. And then me and my brother, who were sort of watching the race and seeing who was doing well, we were very impressed with both the Lola Yamahas. Obviously Zane Maloney had a pretty good race. I thought that Grassi did amazing until he crashed into Mortara, when he crashed. There's too many red cars. It was a real shame that Mortara was crashed into by Di Grassi, because I think that the Lolas actually had really good performance and a great turnaround, and they would have been, up for driver of the day. And with it being Brazil as well, it would have been great to see Di Grassi scoring points essentially, but obviously he then brought out that, he brought out potentially what would have been a safety car, then the Marti incident happened, then there was a red flag which left us with a 1 race shoot down. And this is where my final one to talk about, which is Andretti. And here is typical motorsport. So, Drogovic has now been dropped out of the points due to a penalty. And I have to interrupt the Andretti bit because obviously he now doesn't get 5th position. Obviously, I just want to make sure that this protects the rest of the video because obviously that has changed, I think, maybe 2 hours after the race results. So, Zane Maloney now gets 10th, so well done, Zane. Obviously, Lola now have a point on the board. Andretti are still at the top, but only by, I think, the race win. They are now level on 25 points with Porsche. So I still think he deserves driver of the day, although I think Zane Maloney could earn it now, but I'm not going to change that. That's done and dusted. But obviously that is a big change to the results. But yeah, just wanted to correct that before we carry on with this video. But one team I do want to talk about is Andretti. What an amazing weekend you guys have. Not only are you top of the constructors, but Dennis, perfect weekend. Apart from not winning the last duel, which I think would have been very difficult with the pace of Pascal Wehrlein, you put your car in the correct position, and yeah, well-earned win, let's just put it that way. But Drogovic, who actually had a bad qualifying after breaking his suspension when he was setting one of his laps, you know, I think that wasn't even in the dual stage, was it? That was in the group stages, was obviously a shame. But to come back and get 5th position, that is why you won current laps driver of the day. And, you know, it's been an absolute honour to see you get your first full-time points in Formula E, so absolutely fantastic. And of course, if you're new to Formula E, obviously kind of me and Corey are too, but we're here to talk about Formula E, and the channel's built around this new electrifying, I'll say new, it's 12 seasons old, but you know, it's still quite fresh. If of course you want to support our journey, we've got an amazing I was going to say fan base, but we have 302 subscribers as of this video, and if you can support our journey by liking this video and letting us know in the comments who you're backing this season, because it is absolutely chaos. Anything can happen, as you've seen in today's race. And if you can subscribe to help that number grow, perfect, 303 live on camera. So whoever's my 303 subscriber, big thumbs up to you. That's a massive help, and we absolutely love making these videos. Now, in unscripted fashion, once I've done the core notes, I throw it in the bin. I missed it that time. But for this time, because it's a race, I'm going to talk about just the top 10 of both constructors and drivers, just to give my last opinions on what I think, because there's so much to take in, and I am going to watch that race again because it was just brilliant, wasn't it? So Jake Dennis P1, that is a great start to the season. He's obviously won a championship before. Is this going to be potentially his second? I really hope so. He is a very talented driver. The last couple of years, he's kind of been in the midfield, so to see him back on top, and I know it's race one, it's, yeah, great to see. Obviously, he's done a perfect weekend, and Andretti weren't talked about much in testing apart from Drogovic, so it's great to see that they've come out and said, hold on, not Mahindra, talk about this red team. Then obviously Oliver Rowland in P2. That's obviously him showing that he is the calibre of another world championship. So yes, great recovery drive from coming from the midfield into second position. Nick Cassidy, he in my review video of the sort of what to look out for in Formula E, I did warn you all. He is a very good driver. Last season he got 3 races on the trot. So yeah, he's definitely come back to be in a new team, on the podium, first race, absolutely brilliant. And I think he said in his press interview, when Citroën are in a sport, they do well, and that is great. They're going to love you for doing that. Pascal Wehrlein kind of started in 4th, finished 4th. I think he's got the calibre to also win the championship. He's one to watch. So yeah, I'll give him a big thumbs up for that one. Drogovic, definitely, you know, he's our driver of the day. You are a rookie to Formula E. This is your first full season. That is how you show that you can win that constructors along with Jake Dennis. They are definitely going to be a power pairing. We'll see how they develop through the season. Muller, a lot of pressure on your shoulders. You drive for Porsche. I would say that's a great result for a first race in a top team who expect results. Obviously, Gunther, he kind of was quiet. Me and Corey were getting very excited because Corey backs Gunther because he's kind of the wild card, the underdog, you know, in DS Penske. So it's good to see him getting some points. He kind of snuck under there because I would have mentioned that earlier. Ericsson, we thought he was actually going to flop. So apologies from the current lap team. Me and Corey are sorry, Ericsson. Well done on 9th position. And then Nick De Vries, I think I think his strategy could have been a lot better in the race. I think before the red flag came out, he had 2 attack modes still to use. And the motto is, if you don't use it, you lose it. And attack mode is really powerful in Formula E, as you saw with all the overtakes. So I would mention Maloney, 11th. It's just so frustrating. Had Nick de Vries not got that, I think he would have got into there. So yes, what a great start. We've got such a mix, and this is not the order I would have put that in for today's race, which just shows that this sport likes to throw chaos. In terms of the constructors, I'm only going to say if I'm happy or sad, just a brief one on it. I'll go in the order so you get the order. Obviously, Andretti, you've come out from nowhere. You weren't being talked about in the sport in terms of like who to look out for. So well done for topping it. Obviously Porsche in second, that's sort of expected from them. Anything lower and they're not doing very well. So I think they've got away with a poor result kind of for Porsche because they like to win the races. Nissan, obviously again fighting for constructors. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 in the constructors fight this year, so that's a good result for Nissan to get up there. And I think that's only from the fastest lap and Roland's points, because obviously we have no Norman Nato, because I think he also retired as well. There's a lot of retirees in this race. Citroen, that's a great way to come into the sport. Obviously, I know you rebranded from Maserati. Maserati were kind of like 5th, 6th, around that, so to get up there already is a fantastic move. DS Penske, kind of just expected. You're kind of doing well in that position. Same with Envision in the midfield. Kind of not had a loud race, but not a quiet one. Mahindra, it's a bit of a sad face for me. You've been talked about and hyped all week. Everyone, from the pundits to Formula E Zone, we've all been talking about you. So to see you not do as well today, especially when you had the car, I do think it obviously came down to that. I don't even want to say turn 1. Obviously, Lowly Yamaha, I put a smiley face even though they're down there. I think it was just unfortunate. You know, you guys showed what you had and that you are here to fight for points and not just going to sit at the back, almost like last year. I know you had a few points and podiums, but like it was a strong showing. So big smiley face. Jaguar, I've put a kind of a miffed meh face because I think, I mean, the Da Costa incident kind of wasn't his fault, but obviously losing those points isn't great, especially when he had a strong showing, and obviously Mitch Evans, that's a crash, we can't talk about that. But to see them at the bottom when I was expecting them to be right at the top is sad to see. And then finally, Cooper Kiro, that's a sad result for you guys. And I know it always seems to not play for Dan Tickton, which is a real shame because he is one of those drivers that I think if he gets the right position and he gets in the right places, he could be a world champion. And I have been sort of converted, mainly by some of the fans, you lot, and also the driver series. I think that really helps show the drivers and what they bring to the sport. As I wasn't his biggest fan, I'm not a hater, but I do think, yeah, he's looking good this year, so he's one to watch. So I hope you've enjoyed today. Obviously, this is quite a longer version than unscripted than I normally do, but that's mainly because I've never done one for a race before. So it is super exciting to do this series. So if you can support the journey, and let us know in the comments section below, what did you think of Brazil? You know, is this your first race? Are you as hooked as I was last year? Because yeah, we do get a lot of races that are like this. They sometimes can be a little bit on the quieter side, but Brazil never lets us down, and I think we have an amazing calendar this year. So I guess that's it. I don't want to talk too much because we've got more content to come. Obviously, this is sort of like a race debrief for me, I guess, and for you guys just to hear the excitement because it is just fantastic for the sport to be back. So yeah, I guess with that said, all you need to know is this is the current lap.